A suspicious encounter. The corridors of Starbase Orion thrummed with quiet efficiency, their sleek metal walls pulsing with soft blue luminescence. Built as a neutral trading hub between various galactic species, the station welcomed travelers from every corner of the known universe. Today, however, Security Officer Liara Voss had an unusual case in front of her. A human trader, Dane Carter, strolled confidently toward her security checkpoint. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the self-assurance of someone who had seen his fair share of trouble. His brown leather jacket was slightly worn, his cargo pants tucked into sturdy boots, the attire of someone who spent more time on the fringes of civilization than within it. But what truly caught Liara's attention was the bulge beneath his jacket. Her crystalline eyes narrowed as she adjusted her scanner, the device emitting a soft hum as it swept over his body. The scan results flickered on her holodisplay, but something was off. The readings were inconsistent, shifting between organic and inorganic material. "Step aside, human," Liara commanded, her voice edged with authority. "You are carrying an unregistered anomaly on your person. Station protocol requires further inspection." Dane smirked, raising his hands in mock surrender. "An anomaly? You make it sound so mysterious, officer. But I assure you, I'm not hiding anything illegal." Liara remained unimpressed. "The scanner disagrees. You will follow me for a private inspection." Murmurs spread through the line behind him as travelers watched the confrontation unfold. Most knew better than to challenge station security, especially when an Ascari, Liara's species, was involved. Their reputation for efficiency and discipline was well earned, and she wasn't about to let a smooth-talking human jeopardize her record. Dane sighed dramatically. "Well, if you insist. But I hope this inspection isn't too invasive. I prefer to keep my personal space, personal." Liara ignored his sarcasm and gestured toward a secure corridor. As she led him toward a small, windowless inspection chamber, she felt a strange unease settle over her. Something about this man, about the unreadable nature of his scan, didn't sit right with her. Once inside, the doors sealed shut behind them, locking out any interruptions. Liara crossed her arms. "Remove your jacket." Dane hesitated for the briefest of moments before complying. As the heavy fabric dropped to the floor, the reason for the scanner's erratic readings became clear. A living organism, coiled tightly around his torso, blinked at her with golden eyes. Liara's instincts kicked in immediately. She drew her energy baton, its tip crackling with stored plasma. "Explain. Now." Dane held up his hands again, this time in genuine surrender. "Relax. It's not what you think. This isn't a weapon or contraband. It's a Rylan symbiote. Completely harmless." Liara's grip on her weapon didn't falter. "A Rylan symbiote? Those are illegal without proper permits." Dane exhaled. "I had a permit. But let's just say some paperwork got lost after my last job. Look, it's not dangerous. It's bonded to me. Without me, it doesn't survive." Liara studied the creature. The symbiote's scales shimmered with an otherworldly glow, its body pulsating slightly as if in rhythm with Dane's breathing. It seemed to regard her with curiosity rather than hostility. Still, laws were laws. "You'll be detained until I verify your story," Liara said, motioning for him to move toward the holding cell panel on the wall. Dane didn't argue, but his expression shifted, a subtle wariness creeping into his features. "Fine. But if you check the station's logs, you'll see that several traders like me have gone missing recently. All human. If I end up disappearing too, you'll know why." Liara hesitated. This wasn't just a deflection tactic. There was truth in his voice. A warning. She tapped her wrist communicator, sending an encrypted request to the station's security database. The moment she did, the room's lights flickered, and a deep vibration rolled through the floor beneath them. Dane tensed. That's not normal, is it? Liara's stomach twisted. Something was happening. Something bigger than a simple security breach. She unlocked the door and grabbed Dane's arm. Stay close. If you're right about those missing traders, we may have just stepped into the middle of it. The disappearance files. The hum of the station's artificial gravity fluctuated as Liara and Dane stepped back into the main corridor. Overhead lights flickered in irregular pulses, an unmistakable sign of external interference. Something was disrupting Starbase Orion's systems. Liara kept a firm grip on Dane's wrist as she led him toward the security command center, her mind racing through the possibilities. If what he said was true, if human traders had been disappearing, then this was no coincidence. Someone had tried to bury those reports, and now, they were covering their tracks. Dane matched her quick pace, his expression shifting from playful defiance to something sharper, more calculating. So, Officer Voss, I take it I'm no longer under arrest? Don't push your luck, she replied without looking at him. I still haven't ruled out that you're involved. Fair enough, he said. But if you want answers, you might want to check the restricted database. Public logs won't tell you much. Liara shot him a skeptical glance. And how exactly do you know that? Dane hesitated before answering. Because I was hired to find out why those traders disappeared. Someone paid me to dig, and the moment I got close, my permit for the symbiote was conveniently revoked, my docking privileges delayed, and suddenly, every port authority from here to the outer colonies was breathing down my neck. Liara's fingers twitched toward her baton. Who hired you? Client confidentiality, he said smoothly. But let's just say they're very interested in human biology. Particularly how adaptable we are. That was enough to make her skin prickle. The Ascari were a species defined by precision and order, but humans? Humans were anomalies in the grand design of galactic evolution. Their adaptability, their resilience, it made them both admired and feared. Liara didn't trust coincidences. The moment she reached the command center, she entered her access code and pulled up the station's deep archives. Her clearance was high enough to bypass basic encryption, but Dane had been right, the official logs were scrubbed clean of any mention of missing traders. Her jaw tightened. Damn it. Check security access overrides, Dane suggested, leaning slightly over her shoulder. You can erase records, but you can't erase the authorization history. Someone had to approve those deletions. Liara narrowed her eyes but entered the command. A moment later, the holoscreen filled with a list of restricted entries, their clearance codes flagged with classified authorization. At the top of the list was a name that made her blood run cold. Commander Jorik Kelt. Her superior officer. The head of Starbase Orion's security division. Dane let out a low whistle. Looks like someone in your chain of command has been cleaning up a mess. Liara's mind raced. Kelt had been with the station for years, a veteran, a strategist, someone deeply embedded in the intergalactic law enforcement network. If he was involved, this wasn't just a matter of missing traders. It was a cover-up. Before she could process the implications, a warning siren blared through the command center. The station's automated defense grid had activated. Liara tapped the nearest console, pulling up live surveillance feeds. What she saw sent a cold jolt down her spine. A fleet of unmarked ships had exited hyperspace, fast, tactical, and heavily armed. Dane cursed under his breath. That's a retrieval force. Liara turned to him sharply. Retrieval for what? He exhaled. Me. And probably any other human still on this station. Her pulse pounded. You're saying they aren't just targeting traders. They're targeting humans. Dane nodded grimly. And I'm willing to bet they aren't planning to take prisoners. Liara clenched her fists. This had escalated far beyond a routine security check. If what Dane was saying was true, then Starbase Orion had become ground zero for something much bigger than a few missing reports. And she wasn't about to let herself be on the wrong side of it. She grabbed his wrist again. "We need to move. Now." Dane arched an eyebrow. "What happened to detaining me for an inspection?" "You got upgraded," she said as she pulled him toward the emergency evacuation routes. "To a security asset. Try to keep up. A desperate escape." The station's emergency sirens blared, signaling a high-level security breach. Liara and Dane sprinted through the dimly lit corridors, their boots echoing against the metal floors. The emergency lighting flickered as the station's automated defenses struggled to respond to the unidentified fleet that had just arrived. Liara's communicator crackled. "All personnel, secure all human traders for transfer. Priority orders. Do not let them escape." The voice belonged to Commander Jorik Kelt. Liara's heart pounded. Her superior had just given a station-wide order to round up humans. No trials, no explanations. Just immediate detainment. Dane cursed. "They're moving fast. That means they've done this before." Liara grabbed his arm, pulling him into a narrow service corridor. "We need to get off this station." "Finally, something we agree on," Dane said. "But there's a problem. Every ship in the docking bay is under security lockdown. No way we're getting through standard clearance." Liara tapped at a maintenance panel on the wall, her mind already racing through the possibilities. "There's a secondary hangar, an old maintenance dock used for emergency repairs. It doesn't show up on public records." Dane nodded. "Good. But let's assume Kelt has already thought about that. We'll need a distraction." Liara's fingers flew across the console, accessing the station's fire suppression system. With a few swift commands, she triggered a station-wide atmospheric purge in non-essential sectors. Within moments, klaxons blared and sealed emergency bulkheads activated across the station. Dane grinned. "Smart. They'll think we've gone into hiding." Liara grabbed a stolen security pass off a nearby desk and swiped it against the nearest door. "They'll figure it out soon enough. Let's move." As they slipped through the emergency tunnels, they heard the rhythmic marching of security units patrolling nearby. Dane kept his voice low. "You still think Kelt is doing this on his own?" Liara shook her head. "No chance. If they're rounding up humans, this is bigger than just one man." Dane's expression darkened. "Then we're running out of time. Because whatever they're planning, I guarantee we're part of the test subjects." They reached the old maintenance bay, but Liara's stomach dropped when she saw what was waiting for them. A tactical response team, fully armed, helmets down, blocking their only exit. Commander Jorik Kelt stood at the center of the squad, his expression unreadable. His eyes, however, betrayed his intent. "You should have stayed out of this, Officer Voss." Liara's grip tightened on her baton. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't break your jaw." Kelt sighed. "Because, despite your interference, I still need you. You and the traitor." Dane snorted. "I'm touched." Kelt ignored him. "I don't expect you to understand the bigger picture, Liara. But we are on the cusp of something revolutionary. Humans, your friend here, especially, are uniquely valuable to the future of interspecies evolution." Liara's pulse spiked. "What are you talking about?" Kelt took a step forward, his armored boots clanking against the floor. "The disappearances were tests. Some humans exhibit traits no other species do. Their adaptability. Their genetic resilience. The ones who pass, are taken somewhere important." Dane's jaw tightened. "And the ones who fail?" Kelt hesitated just long enough to confirm their fears. "They don't return." Liara moved first. Her energy baton ignited, crackling with power as she lunged at Kelt. The corridor erupted into chaos. The hidden laboratory. The fight was brutal. Liara moved like a force of nature, her training kicking in as she disarmed the first guard and sent him crashing into the wall. Dane, less precise but just as effective, tackled another soldier and drove a fist into his helmet. The element of surprise gave them the upper hand. Within seconds, they had broken through the blockade, leaving Kelt momentarily stunned. Dane grabbed Liara's arm. "We can't win this fight here. We need to find out where they're taking those prisoners." Liara's jaw clenched, but she knew he was right. She accessed Kelt's wrist terminal, quickly scanning through encrypted files. Her eyes widened at what she found. A hidden transport route. A deep space research station at an unlisted location. Dane looked over her shoulder. "That's where the missing traders went." Liara nodded. "And that's where we're going next." They sprinted toward an abandoned supply shuttle. Kelt's men were regrouping, but it was too late. The moment they launched from the station, the ship's stealth drive engaged, and they vanished into the void. For the first time, Dane looked genuinely impressed. "You're not bad at breaking the rules, officer." Liara focused on the coordinates. Survival isn't about following rules. It's about knowing when to break them. Their destination loomed ahead, a massive research facility floating in the depths of space. And whatever was waiting for them inside would change everything. The experiment. The research station was eerie in its silence. As the shuttle docked, Liara and Dane moved carefully through the empty corridors, their weapons drawn. Dane studied the control panels. "The power's running, but I don't see any personnel." Liara tapped into the facility's logs. "Because they don't need guards. Everything is automated." Then they found the holding cells. Inside were dozens of humans, weak, malnourished, but alive. Some had visible implants, others bore strange genetic mutations. One prisoner, a woman with silver irises, staggered forward. They said we were part of an experiment. They were trying to enhance us." Liara's stomach turned. "What kind of enhancement?" The woman trembled. "They wanted to make humans more compatible. More adaptable. More like them." Dane's expression hardened. "They were trying to change what makes us human." A warning alarm blared through the station. The researchers were returning. Liara made a decision. "We're taking everyone and burning this place to the ground." The final stand. The facility's defenses activated the moment Liara triggered the prisoner release system. Automated turrets dropped from the ceilings, drones surged into the corridors, and alarms echoed through the metallic halls. Dane grabbed a discarded pulse rifle. Well, this escalated quickly. Liara guided the prisoners toward the escape pods. "You wanted answers, Carter. This is what they've been hiding. They're building a new species. And they're using humans to do it." The first wave of drones fired. Dane tackled Liara out of the way as the walls shook with gunfire. He grinned at her. "I don't usually get this involved in my clients' problems." She smirked. "Welcome to my world." Then they fought. Humanity's reckoning. They barely made it out. The station erupted in flames behind them as the stolen shuttle jumped to hyperspace. The freed prisoners, some irreversibly changed, others barely clinging to life, watched in stunned silence as their prison disappeared behind them. Liara slumped into the co-pilot's chair. "They'll come after us." Dane smirked. "Let them try." She glanced at him. "This isn't over, you know. There's more of these labs out there." Dane nodded. "Then we take them down. One by one." Their eyes met, unspoken understanding passing between them. Whatever had begun as a routine inspection had spiraled into something far greater. And humanity's place in the stars had just become the most valuable secret in the universe.